Okay, let's give you guys some more practice. So integrate this. So remember, try and keep an eye out for something of this form here. Something being the derivative of another thing. Also try and keep an eye out for something of this form here. Plus 1, or maybe 1 over 1 plus x squared. So try and keep an eye out on something being the derivative of another thing, and also try and keep an eye out for something of this form. Because if you integrate this, then you're going to get natural log of something. If you integrate this, then you're going to get something along the line of inverse tan of something. Okay, so try and keep an eye out for this. Try and keep an eye out something of this form. So anyway, integrate this. So press pause and have a go. Okay, so to integrate this, if you look at this here, you can factor out the 2. So just get it to be slightly simpler. So factor out the 2. That will then take you to this, and then learn to spot that the numerator is almost the derivative of the denominator. So if learn to spot that well, if you look at this, the derivative of this is 4x. Yeah, it would be 4x, and then plus 2. So if you look at it, this is very similar to this. So learn to spot that the numerator is almost a derivative of the denominator. So if you look at this here, this is very similar to the derivative here. So now we are currently here because this is very similar to the derivative. Then we can rewrite it as this. Hang on. So we are currently here. So we are currently here. Now we know that the derivative of this, well, the derivative of this is 4x plus 2. But this thing here is very similar to this. So we can rewrite it as this. Well, this is the exact derivative. So let's write this as the exact derivative here. But then if you look up here, we've only got a 2x here. So make the adjustment, make it a half. So now we do have 2x plus 1. That's what we've got at the moment. But here it's a 3. So we need an extra 2. So yeah, well, if you look at this, if you make the adjustment of a half, then you're going to get 2x, which is good up here. And then this times this will give you a 1. But this is a 3, so we need a 2 here. Well, break this up into this and this. Okay? So that will then give us this. So this thing here, now let me tidy this thing up. So this thing here is this thing here. Okay? So these two are exactly the same. This is exactly the same as this. Okay? So we are now currently here. Okay, so now this here is a constant, so let's take it out here. So that becomes a quarter, and don't forget when you look at this here, you've got the integral of this whole thing here. So that's the same as you taking the integral of this plus the integral of this. So well, anyway, this whole thing here will become this. Okay, because this is like the integral, take the 2 out, and well, anyway, this bit here will become this. So now hang on, let me think. So now this here we can integrate easily because this is the exact derivative of this. So we can integrate that easily. It becomes natural log of this thing here. So let's just leave it for the time being. Now let's tackle this. This, by the way, is just a 1, so we can pretty much ignore this. So now we need to integrate this. But the thing is, if you notice, you should learn to spot that this is of the form u squared plus 1. So try and rewrite this in this form here. Well, we can always rewrite this by using completing the square. So if we complete the square on this, we can get it in this form here. And remember, we want it in this form because we can easily integrate this. If you integrate this, it will be inverse tan or something. Okay, so get it in this form here. Get it in this form here. Well, we can get this into this form here by using completing the square. So complete the square on this. So complete the square on that. So hang on. There are lots of methods. So use whichever one you want. So factor out the 2. So factor out the 2, so that would then give us this. Complete the square. You're always going to need half of this, so that will then give you this. And then take away the rubbish, and then carry this down. And then single number, merge these two together. That will then give you this. And we've done this in the past, so hopefully you know how to do this. So completing the square will take us to here. So hang on. So going back to here, we can now rewrite this as this. Hang on. We can now rewrite this as this. So that whole thing there can be written as that, because we've basically put this into here. Okay. So the whole thing above earlier becomes this. Okay. But here's the thing. We are very close to this, but not quite, because we need a 1 here. You see, we need a 1 here, and then we also need the whole thing being squared. Here we've got the squared of the bubble, and this thing is lingering on the outside. We need to somehow push it on the inside, so that you have the whole thing squared plus 1. Well, this thing here is not yet a 1. We need somehow to convert this into a 1. Okay, so this is a form that we want, but at the moment we're not there yet. So now looking at this bit here. Okay, so just looking at this bit here, we can well, to create the 1 here, to create this 1 here, we can factor out 9 over 2. So we're going to have something plus 1. So something squared. Well, the thing is, if you factor out to get the 1 here, we would need to factor out 9 over 2, because later on, if you get this times this, it will give you this. Well, to get this to be in the form of this, let's factor out 9 over 2. So that will then give us this. That will then give us this, because I know there's a 2 here, but you probably have to pause the video and think why it turns into this. Well, the whole point here is that at the moment you've got this block plus this block. If you get this times this times this, it will give you this thing here. So maybe you have to press pause and think about it. But from here we can jump to here by factoring out 9 over 2. So we are now currently here. Okay. Now I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you're here, you can actually push this fraction inside of the squared here by taking the square root. I don't know if you're aware of this, but once you square root it, you can actually push it on the inside here. So to get this, to push this on into the inside here, you would have to square root top and bottom, and then bung it in here, so that it will then become this. So now you can see that everything is on the inside of the squared here. Okay, because we want it in the form of this plus 1. Everything has to be on the inside. We at the moment this thing here is on the outside. We want to somehow push it on the inside. And the way you do that is by square rooting this and then pushing it inside. But the next question is, how is it that we know that we can square root it and then push it on the inside? I will continue in the next video. Okay.